It is your Classic Metal Show right here on theclassicmetalshow.com. That's brand new stuff from Richie Kotzen. That one is called My Rock. The name of the new album is Salting Earth, and the name of the guy on the phone is the legend himself. It's Richie Kotzen. Richie, how are you, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent, man. Well, Richie, got to say, this like all of your solo records, going from record to record, there's always tons of diversity, and one is never like the other. It's excellent stuff this time, but it's very different from Cannibals and from, basically everything else. So congratulations on a good record.
Thanks, man. Glad you're digging it.
Yeah, it's very cool, man. Now talk a little bit about this one, man. Talk about your writing style for this one, because it almost seems like you put on your late 70s hat and you just went in a completely retro direction this time.
Well, I'm a big fan of that era of music, and I was born in 1970, and as a child, I was exposed to a lot of the kind of R&B stuff that was happening in Philadelphia, and also, what we call now classic rock. So I kind of have that pendulum swing in my influences from those styles, and really that era of music, left a big impression on me. So I guess that kind of comes out in my writing. I think it's been kind of consistent, actually, throughout my records, really. This record's interesting because it just seems like there's more songs on this record that are a little more piano-driven or electric piano, which I guess is something of note. I've always had songs on my records, that would have the keyboards or piano as a flavor, and there's a handful that were really piano-driven. But on this record, with songs like Cannonball and My Rock and This Is Life, I think I'm kind of exposing that side a little bit more.
Certainly are, man. Now, do you go into a project with a, with a goal to write within a certain style, or is it just kind of you just write songs and they find their way to being where they should be?
That's, what you just said. I really just write in general. I pretty much write what I write. And, ideas come at whatever time they come, and I document them. And sometimes when I have an idea, I'm in a position where I can go right to the studio and start recording. Other times I make a recording on my phone,
right,
kind of sing into the phone so I don't forget the idea. But over the course of time, I just really write whenever I feel inspired. And typically what happens at some point, I'll start thinking about, reviewing what I've written over the course of however long, be it a year or whatever it is. And if I start hearing things that strike me as interesting that I could picture putting on a record, then, I look at that. And, there's so many songs I've written, and some are complete, some are incomplete, but what usually ends up happening is I find a handful of things that I really like, and then I start going back to the archives and finding things that fit well with that, things that are finished, things that aren't finished, and that's usually how the record is put together. It's never really a situation where I say, oh, it's time to go record or time to go write. It doesn't really work like that for me. It's just kind of a spontaneous event, so to speak.
Sure. Now, how do you? And I ask pretty much I have a lot of people that have said that they do kind of the same thing. They record stuff on their phone and then they go visit it again later. How do you remember what's what? Do you have to literally go through 300 riffs and say, okay, that's what that was?
Yeah, really, yeah, that's really it. I mean, I have that little app in my phone, the recorder app, and when I get an idea, if I'm in a position where I can't go right into the studio, I'll just document it and sing the melody. And usually when I go back to those things, I remember what I was thinking at the time, and then I can kind of develop it from there. But yeah, there's tons of things, just kind of sitting there waiting to be looked at. And, when I feel like going through it, I just kind of go through things. And if I find something in that moment that I feel inspired to work on, then I'll take that particular thing and start dealing with it.
Sure. How many? And you don't have to give me an exact number, but how many of these things do you have that are stored somewhere that you haven't used?
Oh God, I have no idea. I mean, probably hundreds. And not only do I have that, I've got songs that are finished, songs that are almost finished. So it's there's a lot of stuff there to go through. I mean, even on this record, I had written and recorded a bunch of things last year. The song "End of Earth," several others. And then I kind of went back to the archives and I found songs that were incomplete, like "Make It Easy," for example, was recorded many years ago, and I never finished it. So then suddenly I had an idea of how to finish it last year, and so now here it is being released, even though that song was partially recorded many years ago.
Wow. Now, on Salting Earth, you, if I read this right, you did all of the instrumentation this time?
Yeah, I did. That's nothing really new for me. I've done that on many records, and at the same time, I've also recorded, with other people. But it really isn't so intentional. It's just something that kind of happens by nature of how I work. I'll go in the studio and work on an idea, and before I know it, it's finished, and it pretty much sounds like what I envisioned in my head. So at that point, I realize that it's finished and ready to be released. And then other times I might have an idea and it's not coming together, and I might call somebody in to play something, play drums or something like that. But on this record, it just kind of came together in such a way that I ended up playing everything myself.
Right, definitely. Now, Richie, one of the things I personally tout of your records, and I am a big fan of a lot of the stuff that you do. I think you are one of the most underrated vocalists out there because your guitar playing is very highly rated. You get slammed into that virtuoso category, I guess. When people start naming people, they'll name you or Satriani or Bonamassa or whoever. They name you guys all in that clique, and I don't think that they pay enough attention to how strong your vocals are. Do you agree with that, or why do you even think that is?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I can't really comment on that because I'm really inside myself. I mean, I don't really think about the outward perception, and everybody's perception is different. I mean, I've had people tell me they prefer my singing, or people, talk about my guitar playing, or people talk about certain songs that I've written that, influence them, or, so it's really difficult to dissect anything like that because then you start kind of killing the creativity. So what I can say is my objective is really to just be creative and bring my ideas to light. My musical ideas, my songs. So whether it's the guitar or the bass guitar or my voice or a piano chord progression, these are all tools to create the big picture, so to speak. So I personally don't separate them. It's just my focus has been to learn an instrument to use as a tool to create my songs. Mm-hmm. So I personally don't dissect it. I will say if you took any of those components away, music would be much less interesting to me. So it's the fact that I'm singing and playing and writing and doing what exactly it is that I do, that is what's inspiring to me.
Excellent. Now, no secret, the last few years have been spent out there with the Winery Dogs, and had some success with it. Now there's all kinds of rumors that the band's dead, the band's on hiatus, the band is still intact, whatever. Can you maybe set that straight? Because there's a lot of different things out there.
Of course. I mean, no, nothing's dead. I mean, we did our record. We got together, whether it was 2012 or 2013 when the record was released, and I think we made a really cool record. I was coming off a solo cycle, and I was approached actually by Eddie Trunk, called me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in doing a project with Billy Sheehan and Mike Portnoy?" And I said, "Well, that sounds interesting. I don't know Mike, but obviously I was in Mr. Big with Billy, and I've known him for a long time. And we got together in a room and threw some ideas around. I played them some songs that I had written that probably would have ended up on my next solo record. And, we hit it off, and the timing was right. I was ready to do something more collaborative. And when the record was done, we released it, and I think we were all surprised at how well received it was. Initially, in my mind, to be completely honest, I wasn't looking to form a band per se. That's never been on my radar. I've been making my records since 1989, and I've had stints in bands, and it's been fun and educational and rewarding. But I was initially looking at the Winery Dogs as just another one of those things that I've done, be it, there too with Stanley Clarke or Poison or my stint in Mr. Big. And
sure.
I figured, well, it's been probably more than 10 years since I actually collaborated with anyone. So the timing was great to get in there with Billy and Mike and make what I think is a great record. And it really was so well received that, way beyond our expectations, that we went right back in and did another record and another album cycle. And so it was fun, rewarding. By no means is it dead. None of us ever said that. I know what I said was that, the dogs are sleeping right now. I'm working on, my thing, which I've always done. I'm back to doing what I've done my whole life, and I'll continue to do that. But, at some point, I could easily see us reconnecting and making another record. I don't think it's anything that heavy. I don't really know where the notion came from. Oh, the band's over, all that sort of thing. But like I said, I keep all doors open. I know that Billy's doing another Mr. Big record, and Mike's always doing something cool and interesting. So, once I get done with my album cycle and those guys get done doing what they're doing, I'm sure we'll meet up again and talk about the future of the band.
Excellent. Well, for now, though, we can talk about the new record, Salting Earth. It is Richie Kotzen. And Richie, where can people go online to find out more about the record and show dates and all that stuff?
Of course. Well, the best place to start is richiekotzen.com. Obviously, we've got all the dates up there, and we're going all over the world. We're here in the United States for the next till the end of May, and then we're going to South America, Mexico, Europe, Australia, Japan, a few other places that we're working on. So we're going to be touring probably well into 2018 if everything goes according to plan. And then at my website, there's links to all my social media. I use Twitter, and that every time I tweet something, it feeds my Facebook page, and I have Instagram. So those would be the places to go to follow me.
Excellent. Well, Richie has a tradition on the show. We always have the artist pick a closing track from the artist or from the album and maybe tell us a quick story about it. So what should we wrap this one up with?
Well, there's a song on the record that I really like called "I've Got You," and it's a fun song. It's hard for me to describe anything musical, man. It's just like, it's so much easier to listen to it. So I'd like to close the show with the Custom Salting Earth called "I've Got You."
All right, well, let's check it out right now. It's Richie Kotzen right here on your Classic Metal Show.